So quite often I get people that walk in the store here and they ask me, what is the difference between the aluminum boxes that you have and the plastic storage boxes? I get asked this question enough times where I thought it'd be great to do a video on it and tell you guys, from my opinion, what the differences are, pros of one, cons of one, versus the pros and cons of another. So right off the bat, let's talk about some similarities between the boxes. They both obviously store things. You can put things in the boxes that you want to keep safe, dry, things like that. They all have a lid of some sort that opens on the top. Generally, the orientation of the lid is the same, although there are some boxes from some manufacturers like Rome that open the other way. So they're all going to have some sort of latches in the front that are going to secure the lid. They're all going to have a hinge on one side that allows that lid to come open, generally speaking. Now, I'm going to show you in a minute, after I talk about these two specific boxes, a third kind of box that's slightly different. But generally, those are the similarities between the two. Oh, and one more thing, so they're all going to have typically some kind of carry handles on the sides that you can use to pick up the boxes and carry them. One other thing that most all boxes are going to have is a way to attach them with straps to cinch them down to a roof rack, or maybe some kind of floor mounting system that you have in your rig. Most of the boxes are going to have either slots that the straps can run through, or you can simply run straps through the handles on the sides of the box to secure them down. So now that we've got the similarities out of the way, let's go into the differences between these two style of boxes, and we're going to talk about the pros and the cons. So let's start over here with this aluminum box. This is from a company called Alubox. These are handmade in Denmark. Pros of this aluminum box. First, very easy to clean. The surface is very slick, not porous. So if you get mud, dirt, things like that on this box, it's generally going to be very easy to clean off with just simple soap and water. The strength to weight ratio on these boxes is very high. So these boxes are extremely light, extremely lightweight, and they're generally very strong. Now I get people asking me, can I stand on these boxes? Generally, I would say no, because although they are very structurally strong, it's aluminum, so the center of the lid is generally a little flimsy. So on a smaller box like this one, I would say, yeah, you're generally okay to stand on this box, although I would stand, close to the edges. But all said, it's generally a very strong box compared to how much it weighs. Another pro of this box, and this is just my opinion, I don't know if this is scientifically proven or anything, but these are generally going to reflect heat and stay a little bit cooler than maybe the plastic type of storage box. And that's generally because this aluminum is a reflective type material, and it's a lighter color. It's not going to be a dark color that's going to absorb heat. So if you're storing anything inside the box that's maybe temperature sensitive, this may be a better option for you. The last pro I'll say about these boxes is that they look great. And that's kind of a personal taste thing and an opinion, but generally people love the way these aluminum boxes look when they're mounted on the top of a roof rack. They just look really cool. Okay, so now let's talk about the cons of this aluminum style box. First off, it is aluminum, so it's going to show scratches easier than a plastic box probably would. You can get surface level scratches that you can see very easily in this. Also, it's going to fingerprint very, very easily. This is one I've had here in the store for a while, and if I tilt it up and let you see, I don't know if the camera's showing this or not, but I mean, you can see fingerprints all over it. Now you can clean those off, but they're going to show fingerprints very easily. But going back to the scratches and things like that, some guys kind of like that. It's kind of like a patina, right? So it looks a little weathered. So if that's what you're going for, this box will be perfect for you. So we talked about scratches. These boxes are also going to be a little more subjective to denting. Again, it is aluminum. It's a fairly substantially, thick aluminum, but if you run something into the side of it pretty hard, you're going to dent it. Or if it's a sharp object that you hit pretty hard into the side of this, you could poke a hole if you hit it hard enough. Again, this is pretty strong aluminum, so it'd take a really forceful hit with something very sharp. But you could pierce through it. I mean, you'd definitely dent it. So that's one thing to consider. They probably damage a little bit easier than maybe a plastic box would, like this box here. Another con of this box could be that they're noisy. Now, I don't necessarily mean the box itself, but I'm really more thinking about the contents of what you put inside of this box. If you put things in here that are hard, maybe plastic or metal, you know, going down a washboard road in your rig, or corrugations, as our Aussie friends like to call them, you know, you're going to hear that rattling against this metal aluminum box. So that's something to think about. Now, a lot of guys will counteract that by putting foam inserts in here, which would completely eliminate that. But just straight from the way these are made at the factory, things are going to rattle around in here and make a little noise. Another con that comes to mind is they only come in one color, aluminum. You know, aluminum's only one color generally, unless you do some kind of special process to it. So, you know, if you wanted a black or an OD green or something like that, this is not going to be the box for you. Now, I'll say that with a caveat. You could wrap this box. I've seen and heard of people painting them. So, you know, obviously there's ways around that, but generally speaking, it's one color. The last con I'll talk about with this style of box is generally they are more expensive. Now again, there's caveats to everything and footnotes to everything, but if we're talking about this particular box, Alubox, these are top of the line premium boxes. They're fairly pricey. So a similarly sized box in a plastic variation like maybe this one is going to be quite a bit cheaper than this box. All right, so that does it for the aluminum style boxes. Now let's move over here to the plastic style boxes and talk about this one here that we've got from Rome Adventure Company. All right, so like I said, this is from a company called Rome Adventure Company. We carry these here in the store. Really nice, well-made box. A lot of guys really like these. So right off the bat, we'll start with the pros of these style of boxes. These are going to be very strong compared to, I would say, an aluminum box. And what I mean by that is you can put a lot of weight on top of this and you don't have to worry about it denting or buckling or anything like that. This is made from, this particular one is LDPE plastic, and it's just made really well and it's rigid. You can stand on this no problem. You could put a lot of weight on top of this box and you would have no issues. A second pro on these style boxes is the latches, in my opinion, are generally a little bit more robust than the latches you might see on an aluminum box. They're really beefy, and when you latch them to the box, they really snap down hard and tight. So I would call that a pro for this box. Now, unlike the aluminum box we talked about a minute ago, the plastic box, you're gonna have a lot more color options, depending on where you buy them and the manufacturer, but generally these come in several different color options. These Rome boxes come in slate, which you see here, OD green, desert tan, and black. So you're gonna have a lot more options for color if you like to color match it to your rig. This is going to be the box for you. Another pro with this style of box is, again, generally speaking, they're going to be more watertight and weather-tight. This Alubox is rated at IP54, which basically means it doesn't allow dust inside or splashing of water from any angle. They're not waterproof, although they do have a seal, a rubber seal around the inside, and they are siliconed around the joints. They are IP54 rated, where these, Rome says they are waterproof. So you could submerge these, according to Rome, and they would not leak. But either box is going to be fine for on top of your rig on a rack when it's raining. The last pro I'll talk about with this style of box versus an aluminum box is these are generally less expensive than their aluminum counterparts. All right, so let's go into the cons of these styles of boxes now. There's really not too many cons that I came up with this style box. The first one is, though, it's generally going to be a heavier box than the aluminum boxes. They're just a little bit thicker, and the material they're made of, it's just not as light as an aluminum material, so they are going to be a little bit heavier. Now, if you're just talking about the box itself, the difference is not going to be substantial, but once you talk about getting all your contents in here versus that, it's just more weight to pick up and when you're putting it on top of your rack or whatever, so it's something to think about. The last con I'll talk about with this style of box is, they just may not look as good as an aluminum box if the aluminum is your thing. They're not going to have that shiny, nice look that the aluminum's going to have. They're not going to get that patina that aluminum might get. When you scratch one of these, it may not look as good as a scratch. I know it sounds silly, but a scratched up plastic box may not look as good as a scratched up kind of patinaed aluminum box. So, you know, if you're going for that style, this box is not for you. All right, guys, it's bonus time now. So what I wanted to do, I've already compared the aluminum boxes with the plastic style boxes. What I want to do now is talk about different style of plastic boxes and different style of aluminum boxes. So first, let's start off with plastic. We've already talked about the Rome box. This is a Wolfpack by Front Runner. I want to go over some of the pros that I talked about with the plastic style boxes in general that, you know, probably don't apply to this style of plastic box. So first, and I want to start off with saying that Front Runner Wolfpacks are great storage boxes and they're great options. I own some and I use them. But, you know, depending on your application, you may want this style of plastic box instead of this style. So we talked about how strong and durable these were, and you could stand on them no problem, put a lot of weight on a box like this. On a Wolfpack, I don't know if I would do that, simply because of the way the lid works. Now, when the lid is locked on here, I don't actually have the latches locked right now, but when it's stacked on top like it's going to be closed, it is very rigid. So you could probably get away with standing on it. But if you notice, the lid is not hinged, kind of like this, so it comes straight off and it's thin. So you can see I can bend the lid like this. So the lid by itself is just not as robust as this style of lid. So that's first off. Secondly, the latches on this, I said generally these style boxes, as far as the plastic boxes go, the latches are a little bit better that I've seen anyway. These latches are not going to be as nice as something like this. This is a metal latch that buckles and clamps down the lid. This one doesn't really do that. It's a kind of a flimsier style of plastic latch, and it just basically snaps on. Once it's snapped and latched, the lid is on there. It's not coming off. Matter of fact, they're kind of hard to get off. So that's something else I wanted to kind of point out between the two. But like I said, this is a great box, and I do, you know, I promote them. I think they're great. I use them myself. It's just they are plastic, but they're a little different. So I just wanted to point out some of those differences real quickly. And one last thing I'll talk about with these style of boxes, the Wolfpacks versus the Rome box and this style plastic box you see here, is I talked about how the con of this style box is it's generally heavier than aluminum box. Not so with the Wolfpack. These are extremely light, you know, very comparable to an aluminum box. So you won't have to worry about weight with something like this. All right, so now it's bonus round for the aluminum style boxes. We already talked about the Alubox, which is here. I want to talk about this box. This looks, you know, obviously it's a bigger box, but you know, if you're not paying close attention, you might think this is the exact same box, made by the same company rather. But it's not. This is made by a company called Swisslink, and it's the same style box, but there are some differences even between these two. At first glance, like I said, they look very similar. They have these corner braces up here at the top that are, I mean, exactly identical. They both have these style of handles on the side, these spring-loaded handles. They have very similar latches, but there are some differences. So, first of all, let's talk about the aluminum. The aluminum is, as far as I can tell, I don't know the exact specs, thickness on these boxes here right off the top of my head, but I feel like the aluminum maybe just be a little bit thinner, not much, but maybe just a little bit. Secondly, the biggest difference between these two boxes are the latches. These latches are a little more substantial than the latches that come with a Swisslink box, I feel like. The third thing, which is I think the last big difference for me, is the hinges on these two boxes. The Alubox comes with it's like a piano style hinge all the way across the back. I don't know if you can see this, but runs the length of the box. It's going to give you a much stronger hinge as far as the twisting of the hinge. Now the Swisslink boxes, they have two hinges on the back. Two smaller hinges like that, so not as strong and substantial of a hinge on the back of these. Again, they're very similar boxes. They both are have this rubber gasket around the top that's going to seal out any kind of weather, so you shouldn't have any problem there. The biggest difference though between these two is the price. So handmade in Denmark, pretty sure manufactured in China. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure about that. This box here is $265 retail, the Alubox. This box, bigger, $189. So there's quite a bit of difference between the price. They have a box, I wish I had it here in the store, but Swisslink has a box that is the same exact size as this Alubox. It's $100 cheaper. So if you're a guy that needs the top of the line, premium type gear, you get the Alubox. If you're more budget minded, don't mind a few of the little differences like the hinge style and maybe a little bit less substantial of a latch, and you want to save some money, Swisslink is your answer. Those are the boxes you're going to want. Now, I will say Alubox comes in, and I don't know off the top of my head, but it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 30-something different sizes, where Swisslink is only going to have 3 different sizes. They have a small, medium, and large. So if you need an oddball size box or a very large box, probably going to want to go with an Alubox. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful, and I hope this answers some of the questions that you might have about the different style of boxes. If you know any different pros and cons that I didn't mention in this video, just leave them down in the description. I'm sure I didn't get them all, but they're just the ones that came to mind for me. All these boxes we talked about in the video today are available on our website, overlandaddict.com, or if you want to see them for yourself in person, get your hands on them, stop by the store sometime in Nixon, Missouri, and check them out. All right, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. A second con with these, you know, generally they just may not look as good. Let's not say general. Stop by the store here in Nixon, Missouri, and come see me. That sounds stupid.